right, my name is Terry and I'm an alcoholic. Tonight's a speaker meeting. And our speaker tonight, one of the joys of this program is watching a new person come into these rooms and get it and grow. I've had the privilege of watching this person walk in these rooms, I will say beaten and broken, and today you see the light shining in their eyes. They're living again. So without anything further from me, let's welcome Amanda.
Good evening, family. My name is Amanda Harvey, and I am an alcoholic. Just a little bit nervous. This is the first time I've spoken, told my story outside a gateway to a small group of women. So I'm just going to tell you what it used to be like, what happened, and what it's like now. I'm going to refer to my little cheat sheet some, but we'll just see where it takes me. So I'm 43 years old, so I've had a lot of crazy rides throughout those 43 years. But first, I was born in New York, a little town in the mountains called Greenwood Lake. My dad was a cop. My mom was in nursing school. My dad was 12 years older than my mom. So, she was very, very green. My dad had kids from his first marriage, Christopher and Stephanie, so they're my older halves. We ended up moving to Florida to a little town called Palatka, in a neighborhood called Palmport. My dad was actually originally stationed at Mayport, so that's how we were familiar with this area when he was in the Navy. And he got a job at Seminole Electric, so that's why we ended up in Palatka. Well, we were down here for very short time, and my mom ended up pregnant with my little brother RJ. And at first it was just us girls, me and my sister, who was also born in New York. It was the four of us that moved down to Florida. I didn't know my parents were having really bad problems, and so RJ was kind of not exactly planned, because shortly after that, my dad took me out on the boat and told me that he was going to be leaving, that he was going to live someplace else. I was 7 years old. My sister was 4, and RJ was still breastfeeding, and I didn't realize at the time it was because he was leaving my mom for another woman. And I was a daddy's girl, and so I just hated my mom. I thought that she was making him leave. I was terrible to her, and I still, even to this day, harbor guilt from that. I've used a lot of drugs and drank a lot of alcohol over that guilt. It's something that I'm still working through. But I really wanted to live with my dad. I remember being a very stressed out child because I thought I had to protect my brother and sister. We was having to go, my mom's fresh out of nursing school, got a job at the hospital. Of course, there had to be babysitters and whatnot. And I just didn't think anything was good enough for my little brother and sister. I was afraid something bad was happening to them, and I thought I had to protect them. So at 7 years old, even me thinking back now, I was having adult thoughts, and thinking I had to take care of them. I fought my mom. I ran away all the time. Just wanted to go live with my dad. I remember being in and out of court, custody battles. I had to see a psychiatrist once a week. My dad would constantly badmouth my mom, and my mom was of the opinion that children shouldn't have to be involved in such a manner, and she was right, but the problem was she wasn't defending herself. So I believed everything my dad was saying. My dad was Superman. He could do no wrong. I liked my stepmom. She was great. But the best part was my dad let us do whatever we wanted. We didn't have to eat healthy foods. We could have sodas, sugary cereals. And of course, once I became a preteen, I could go out, walk to the store up the road and see all these older boys that would look at me, and I just thought that it was awesome. When I was 11 years old, something really bad happened. I was sleeping on the couch in my dad's trailer, and the man from next door actually came over and he cut a hole in the screen, and he was molesting me through the window. I woke up and I screamed for my dad. His name was Peter J. Benedetti. I can remember that name to this day. The police ended up getting him, and he, I guess, worked for the state of Florida, taking care of the couple, the elderly couple that lived next door. And I remember that my dad was out there with a gun looking for him, but when the police came, the man was standing in the window, and I remember seeing his silhouette. He was just standing there in the window, so they ended up getting him. And I think that experience kind of shaped my views on sexuality at a very young age. I realized that, men looked at me that way, and, even at 11, I started using that, I think. So by the time I was 13, I was able to go and live with my dad. That's the age in Florida where you can make your own decisions. So I went to live with my dad, and my sister, she followed suit very soon after that. And up until this point, I was really good in school. I'm the type of person that can read a book one time and get it, Always made straight A's, honors classes, everything. But it was more important to me to party. I was like, even at that young of an age, I was showing tendencies towards addictive behaviors. Every single day of the week, even if it was a Wednesday, I was depressed because there wouldn't be anybody out to drive me around the woods or whatever. Yeah, that's what people like to do. That's about all there is to do, is drive around the woods, stuff like that. So every single day I wanted to party, drink, I just wanted to be out, and I just wanted attention. That's, if somebody was giving me attention, I was happy. Would you hand me my water? Thank you. I have a prosthetic leg, so it's kind of hard for me to, but we'll get to that part. Okay, so my dad, I think that the main reason he wanted me to live with him so badly is because he wanted to hurt my mom. And when I realized that, it was crushing. But at this time, 13, 14, 15, 16, I'm just, sneaking out of the house, doing what I want to do. Didn't take much to sneak because my dad didn't pay any attention. He thought it would be a good idea because I wanted to go into the military. And he thought it would be a good idea for me to drop out of school, get my GED and 15 college credits so I could go into the Air Force before I was 18 at 17, which is insane, right? But with all the partying and everything else I was doing, that sounded really good to me. 16 years old, I'll stop going to school. More time to hang out and party. So right before this, my dad had given me a car. I wasn't supposed to drive it yet because I didn't have my license. I was only 15. And I took it one night, and I was drinking, wrecked it. I went between two pine trees. They took off both my side mirrors, and they said my dad said that if I had been sober, I probably would have went through the windshield. I would have stiffened up. But I thought I was invincible. I was 15 years old. And that's pretty much why he came. He didn't want to deal with it. All of a sudden, he wanted me to start having rules, right? He wanted me to, all of a sudden, my daughter's out of control. Asking my mom, what should I do? Of course, my mom's like, no, don't know what to do now. So my mom had remarried. She had married my stepdad. Let's see. I got my GED. And I was still sneaking out of the house at night doing stuff. But at this point, my sister followed suit. She was living at my dad's too. So we were sneaking out, and I started hanging out with this crowd all the way across town. And we were at a party at his house one night. My dad comes knocking on the door. Me and my sister are in there. We look up, our dad's at the door. Of course, we're panicking. But there was a lot of people there. And the guy whose house we were at, they opened the door, and my dad's like, where are my girls? Everything just happened really fast. And my dad said he was going to go get his gun. He's a retired cop and all. And of course, Chris says he's going to get his gun. So everything's crazy. My dad throws my sister in the car and tells him, I'd expect this out of you, Amanda, but Sarah, you're special. And after all that I went through, wanting to go and live with my dad, and all the crap I put my mom through, I think that was a big realization for me that he was just really out for hurting my mom, and that really crushed me. So I stayed there at Chris's house, the guy who owned the house, and a few weeks went by, and my dad said that if I was going to stay there at 16, I was going to have to get married. So me and Chris got married. So 17 years old, I'm married now. And not having a clue what a marriage is supposed to be. I feel really bad because Chris was deeply in love with me. He was just a few years older than me, but I just did what I wanted. I did just like I did when I lived at my dad's. Going out every night, had a fake ID, going into the bars, just running that poor boy ragged. Had no idea what it meant to be a faithful wife. I cheated on him. I just did what I wanted pretty much. And then we ended up moving. He got a job out of town, so we ended up moving over to DeLand. And things were okay for a while, for a very short while. I had a good waitressing job. I found that I was very good at working in the restaurant, doing really good. And then Chris decided that he was going to take up one of his workers on an offer that we start selling drugs for them, cocaine. And we said, well, we like to do it on the weekend, so it's a great idea, we'll just have our stuff for free. So yeah, and I think if I hadn't crossed the line already from, just a hard party girl into a full-blown alcoholic and addict, I think that was probably the time that I did. I was working this job at a really nice restaurant in DeLand, and I remember we brought into our fold this kid who was a bartender there, and he went to the college, or was it Stetson College? Really straight-laced guy, but we had good stuff, and we're like, hey, here, take this, give it to sell it to your friends, and it was no time at all, and that's something that's definitely on somebody that I owe an amends to, because this kid ended up dropping out of school, going back home, not before he was like, I think that it kind of did something to his mind. We had given him some stuff, and he had gotten a hotel room. Nobody knew where he was. Nobody could get a hold of him. And I feel really bad about that. And it's just something that I guess that we do. We just, ruin lives when we're in active addiction and alcoholism. I ruined a lot of lives, and I'm happy that today I can start making up for some of that. But that was just one of them. Let's see, my dad supported me financially anytime that I was in a pinch. Like me and Chris would get in a fight, I'd be away from him. My dad would, every car that I ever had, my dad had bought for me. Always giving me money. My biggest enabler, him and my stepmom, they just always, tried to help. And God love them for it, but yeah, if they'd have cut me off sooner, things would probably be a little bit different. Finally, Chris had enough, and we ended up getting a divorce. And while we were still just separated, in trouble for the very first time in Daytona, I was 21. I got pulled over. I had drugs in the car. I ended up, long story short there, getting drug court. And that wasn't going to faze me. I took it as a joke. That was my first time I was introduced to AA. And I kept just pushing the limit, pushing them to the limit. Got in trouble, they'd do the sanctions, I'd go to jail, talk my way back into the program, not get kicked out. This went on for a couple of years. I actually went to a treatment center, my very first treatment center, for 6 months down in Orlando. As soon as I got out, within a week, I was drinking and partying again. It was all just a big joke to me. And throughout this, I realized in the back of my mind that I had a problem, but it wasn't a problem in me. I knew that I had crossed over into addiction and alcoholism a long time ago, but I said, this is just the life that I'm supposed to lead, may as well have fun while I'm doing it. So that's pretty much what I did. I met Mike, the guy that I was with on and off through the rest of my adventures. And he was going to pain management, and that's when we started taking Lortabs. Then I started to have a relationship with opiates somewhat. But before I got kicked out of drug court, I was on the run, and my best friend introduced me to this guy named Mayo, and I ended up going all the way to Mexico with him in running from drug court. And I was in McAllen, Texas, and just doing him the exact same way that I did everyone else, just doing my own thing, partying, doing what I wanted, until he ended up sending me back to Florida. He'd had enough. And my friend told me, that he was involved with the cartel, and I was lucky to be alive. It was just like I thought that everything was a joke, and nobody's feelings mattered but my own. I just did whatever I wanted to do, and there was just no stopping me. I got the best job that I ever had in St. Augustine at Applebee's. I ended up working my way up into management, and that's while I was taking Lortabs. That was when it was all just kind of, giving myself a little bit of extra energy at work. Back to waiting tables, and that's when the Roxy's and Oxycontin came into the picture. And I ended up losing my job because of Xanax. That's when I was taking pills pretty hardcore. And let's see. So we were trying to escape from all that, and Mike and I moved up to Ohio for 2 years. And it's like wherever I went, there I was. We ended up doing good for a little while. We went up there with a prescription of Suboxone that we split. It was right when Suboxone was pretty much first coming out. It wasn't like a big thing anymore, so I ended up talking to my dad and stepmom and sending me to the doctor and getting me a prescription so that we could wean ourselves off of the pills and everything else. So we were running. So we went up there and we were going to the bars and stuff like that. Nothing had changed, and of course we were drawn to the exact same people we had down here around us. We had the exact same people up in Ohio around us. So it wasn't too long before we ended up, coming back to Florida with our tail between our legs because we couldn't make bills. We were back on pills again. We were, we didn't really have anybody up there. So we came on back to Florida, and we didn't have anywhere to stay. We were couch hopping. Staying at different friends' houses. Mike could always go home to his parents. My family at this point wasn't going to give me a place to stay. But Mike could go home to his parents' house, and he would do that, and I would just be left hanging and trying to figure out where to go. So I called my sister. Sarah was living in Jacksonville at the time, and I went to live with her. Got another waitressing job. That didn't last too long because I was still living that party life. I ended up getting in a big fight with my sister because I started talking to Mike again, and me and him ended up right back in the same thing, staying at Old Gator Lodge. I was working at Centerfold, dancing, and that me being a child of chaos, that was just perfect for me. Stripper lifestyle, getting paid to drink and drug and all that. I mean, it was perfect for me. But I just got heavier and heavier and heavier into everything, and I ended up meeting a guy in the club that wanted to pay me to cash these counterfeit checks. They were like supplemental or insurance checks, and they were for like $6,000 and $7,000 checks, and there was a whole thing we had to go through. I thought that he was embezzling money from his company. I didn't think they were actually counterfeit checks. So I'm fingerprinting all these checks and everything else, and like all these different counties. From down in Miami, I would fly back to Jacksonville, and it was pretty insane. Fortunately for me, only 3 of them came back to me. It was Volusia County, Duval County. I think that was it. It was 2 in Volusia and 1 in Duval. But here's more felony charges for me, right? So I ended up getting community control, and I was able to go back to my dad's because my sister was already living back there. And my dad ended up renting us a house because, you know, here's his 2 girls that are like back under his roof again, out of control, crazy, just like we were when we were teenagers. At this point, we were getting into the heavier drugs. We were doing meth. My sister started dancing with me. Of course, I didn't do very well on the community control at that point. I went to Volusia County and I had to like finish out. It was like they gave me a year total, but I'd been in and out so many times that it wasn't that long. So I ended up meeting Steve-O. When I got out, I went back to stay with my dad, and I started seeing this guy Steve-O. He was a couple years younger than me. We used to hang out by these train tracks. We used to camp out there all the time. You know, Night Train by Jason Aldean was our song. And I remember one night he was really intoxicated, and he was talking gibberish, and we'd been walking down the tracks, and we'd been up for days, and so we were drinking, coming down off of what we were up for days on, and the opposite was coming into effect. You know, we'd done some pills in the bathroom at the convenience store, and the only thing I remember is that we sat down on the railroad tracks to rest, right? And then I opened up my eyes and I was looking up at a stopped train. And that's all I remember. Nothing ever came back to me. And I didn't know what was going on. I was like, you know, where's Steve-O? Where did he go? He's gone. And yeah, so I was like, maybe he went to get help. So I tried to turn over, and my body just feels like jello. It's just like I was a worm or a snail or something, a slug. And I was like, oh God, something's not right. So I start screaming for help. Start screaming for my mom. Don't know where it was coming from, but I'm screaming for my mom. And I hear sirens in the distance. So all of a sudden, finally, the people come. Got the EMTs, and they're all confused. They come up to me and they're like looking at me. They're like, did she just get hit by a train? Because I looked okay. I mean, I looked all right. I guess that Steve-O had gotten run over, and all they saw was his shoe. I mean, I told them what happened, that there was another guy with me, and they didn't know. They're like, this girl just got hit by a train. They had to get his friend that lived nearby to come and identify his shoes. They were sitting there. So they life flighted me out of there, got to Shands. It turned out I had a ruptured spleen, a crushed pelvis, a broken femur, multiple broken ribs. My back was broken in 8 places. Lost my spleen, lacerated kidney. I was pretty jacked up. So they didn't know if I was going to die for a minute, of course. I had just this massive internal bleeding. From the outside, I had a little teeny scratch on my face right there. You couldn't tell anything was wrong with me at all. But they had to cut my stomach open right here. I got a big scar because they had to stop the bleeding. They had to get my spleen out. They had to sew up my kidney. So, you know, you'd think that would have put some sense into me, right? I'm in the hospital for a good year and a half. Between the hospital and then a rehab facility to get nursed back to health. My mom comes in and shaves my legs, takes care of me. I was stuck in my back's broken 8 places. I'm in a turtle shell flat on my back for months. They had to dope me up with benzos because I was just, anxiety was insane. I couldn't move, I was in pain. Because like when I woke up on the train tracks, I didn't feel any pain. That's why I wasn't sure what was going on. I guess my body was in shock already. So the pain came afterwards, a lot of it. But my mom was right there, and I wouldn't let anyone near me. She had to come change my sheets. She had to do everything for me. I wouldn't let nobody could come within arm's reach of me. People would come to visit me. They had to stay back. So my mom was really there for me through all that, and you know, everybody thought that I was a miracle. Well, I was a miracle. I am a miracle. But everybody thought that I would realize that at the time. And apparently I didn't. By the time I was leaving the hospital, I was eating my fentanyl patches, busting them open, eating them. I was trying to get needles out of the thing on the wall at the nursing home that I was living at. I was just a really, really hardcore drug addict and alcoholic, guys, really bad. So I ended up kind of hitting the ground running, as my mom likes to put it. You hit the ground running after that. I went right back pretty much to the same lifestyle. I ended up, shortly after, I wasn't supposed to ever be able to walk again, but I taught myself how to walk again. By God's grace, I was able to walk just with a pretty severe limp, because I could kind of only walk on the side of my foot like that. But I was drunk one night shortly after getting out of the hospital, hanging out with my new boyfriend, and I stepped off the edge of a driveway and I broke my ankle so bad that it broke both bones and it cracked my shin. So I went to the hospital, got looked at, got wrapped, whatever, after a couple days, realizing that something had to be done, of course. We don't want to go to any appointments or anything like that. If it's not fun and if it's not partying, we don't want anything to do with it. So I ended up going to the hospital, and they set me up an appointment with an orthopedic surgeon in Gainesville. So I missed the first appointment, too hungover or something. I don't know what happened. By the time the next appointment came, my bones had fused back, and they would have had to re-break my ankle, put pins in, and do all this stuff. So they decided that they were going to cast my ankle and then recast it every week just to bend it back kind of slowly, the way it was supposed to be. So what do? I get the first cast put on and call it a day. I never go back. I just go right out with the cast on until the bottom's starting to wear off. The guy I was with, Graham, he works at Ace Hardware, so he brings home a saw when we have to get the cast off, when it's time for that. So yeah, he saws the cast off of me. My ankle, I think I walked on the side of my foot like that before, now it's like this. Oh. Even more, yeah. So I'm still going pretty hardcore, and I was on drugs again. I was on meth. I was on pills. Caused arguments between me and the guy I was with. His name was Graham. Caused arguments because I had to have opiates. I had physical addiction. And he was holier than thou, though, because he only smoked meth. So he was, I was the dirtbag that was ruining everything. So, I was going to the pain management at this point. Pretty much they would give me whatever I wanted. I just got hit by a train and stuff. So I was going to pain management. Yeah, going to pain management every month, and of course I'm trying to make ends meet at the same time with all my partying and everything else. So I'm selling my pills too. I'm selling my pills just so that I can run out, have to turn around and buy them again, spend all our money on that, make it to go to the doctor again so I can sell half, and it's a vicious cycle with that stuff. So that went on for quite a while. Next thing I know, somebody comes knock on the door. It's the police. They come and arrest me. Turns out that I have 2 sales charges I gotta face because somebody wired up on me. Yeah, so I ended up bonding out. Paid a lot of money. Graham came up with a lot of money and got me out. But he ends up leaving a week before my sentencing. Like, I was going to get, I couldn't put it off any longer. I was going to have to get 3 years. That's what they were offering, wasn't coming off of it. 3 years in prison. So, he just disappears like a thief in the night. He's just gone. Don't know where he is. He's just gone. So, it's like this is the week before I go for my sentencing. And I just felt I thought I was just depressed because 3 years in prison, like, that's crazy. And I was so sad. I was just so tired all the time, and I just, like, I couldn't move very well. I was, like, so heavy, and I was very, very sickly feeling. And, I was 90 pounds soaking wet. I was, strung out, is putting it mildly, strung out. Yeah, and so it comes about time for my sentencing. It's the day before, and I was worse off than ever. So I called my sister to come and get me. I said, I'm not going for it. I'm not doing it. So she comes and gets me, and we go to this place she was staying at. And I remember she was in this room in a trailer, and there was a mattress on the floor, and I laid down on the mattress on the floor. And I don't know, I guess I was there for a couple days, it was all kind of blurry to me, this part. But I guess my dad turned me in, told the cops where I was, so the warrant, they come to serve the warrant on me because I missed my court date. And I told them I just couldn't get up. I couldn't move. And they were like, okay, yeah, right, Amanda. What are you trying to pull here? Well, the EMTs came and got me, and they took my oxygen level, I guess it was, and said, we've got to get her to the hospital right now. Apparently I only had hours to live. Because I was septic, I had MRSA running rampant through my veins, I had pneumonia, I had flu, I was closer to death's door than when I got hit by the train, they said. And the last thing they said to me at the hospital before I passed out was, did you know you're pregnant? Now, up to this point, I didn't think I could have kids. I think I credited some of my addiction to that. I didn't think I could have kids. It was a big hole that I was trying to fill. I was 37 years old, and the nurse told me I was pregnant. And I remember smiling real big, and I said, somebody call my mom. And then I woke up a week later back at Shands. They had me, hooked to all these machines and everything else. They had me strapped down to the bed, and I asked why, and they said I was trying to fight everybody and kick people who was coming in. I was in another medically induced coma for the second time. And the first thing I asked my mom was sitting there, I said, am I pregnant? And I was pregnant. So that was my miracle. I'd been hit by a train. I guess maybe my insides got moved around to where it worked out, but God blessed me with a little baby named Quinn. Now, mind you, I still have these sales charges I'm dealing with. By the grace of God, I ended up going to Meridian because I needed IV antibiotics. I needed a lot of medical care for quite some time throughout my pregnancy. And I think that, maybe it was because the state didn't want to foot the charges of all the stuff I had wrong with me, my physical disabilities with my leg and everything. Ended up giving me community control instead of sending me to prison. So here I am, lucky again. So I'm going to have to speed through the end of this, I think. So, let's see. I was doing really good from that point on. I thought that, that was what was going to fix me, having Quinn. That's going to fix me. But before you know it, that was the most sobriety I had in my adult life. I ended up getting about 3 years. I was at MIST, a program for mothers and children, for a year in Gainesville. When I got out, I moved in with my sister, and she was doing really good at the time. We had a place in Gainesville, and then my sister started using again. Sarah relapsed, and so I kind of followed suit. It started out, I was just using a little bit, Quinn's breastfeeding, I'm pumping and dumping if I'm drinking or whatever, and thought I could have my cake and eat it too. And then I find out they're taking my disability away. I guess I wasn't going to enough doctor's appointments and stuff like that, but I had this baby and they're taking away my disability, and I started using a lot heavier after that. So before long, my mom called DCF on me, and they came and they got Quinn, violated my community control, and I ended up getting 18 months in prison. This is the second time I've been to prison, because drug court had sent me in my 20s. I ended up going to work release, where I proceeded to get pregnant again with another little girl. I made the decision that I wasn't going to keep her, that Quinn was my blessing. I needed to get home and concentrate on getting her back. And I was going to put Lily up for adoption. So I picked out the family, I handpicked them. The adoption agency was putting money on my books until I got out, and then they helped me get into an apartment. And all I was going to use it to get on my feet. But I had the brilliant idea to call Mike and say, when I get out, I just want to have like a get out of jail party. Like I just want to, I want to get like $5 to lot, and I'm going to do it, and that's going to be it. So the $5 to lot, it turned into let's get a dub, a meth. Let me just do that. I'm already getting high, whatever. And I'm really ashamed to say that I thought about it, and I just simply could not stop. They say that it's a progressive disease. Through that whole pregnancy, I wanted to. Guys, I wanted to so bad, and I just couldn't stop. Up until I had Lily, I was in a real bad place. Had that baby, gave her up, didn't even see Quinn pretty much through this whole time because I couldn't get over to my mom's house looking the way I did, picking holes in my skin and just doing the same thing that I'd always done. After I had Lily, I'm staying in this place that the adoption agency had gotten me, and somebody ended up getting a hold of my phone and stealing off my Cash App like $2,000 of the money the adoption agency gave me. So I called my sister, Sarah, who had left town to try to get her shit together, which she still has her shit together, thank God. But she came and got me, and I started working a pretty strong program of recovery there. Sarah let me stay with her. I was doing NA online. It was when COVID was real big. So I was doing NA meetings online mostly. And we did really good for a while, living down in Inglis, Florida, down near Crystal River. And then what happened was we moved back to St. Augustine, which is right next to Palatka. So I'm right back near my old crowd again. I had about 9 months clean. Ended up saying I'm just going to go party this weekend with my friends in Palatka, just the one time, right? Same as before, couldn't stop, just couldn't stop. I ended up taking care of this guy's grandmother that I got involved with, and this was a very, very dark time for me. So when I left my sister's house, right, she kicked me out of the house because she knew I was using again. This relapse. Within a month, I had caught felony charges. I got pulled over going to my work. I had a rig of dope in my bra and a Xanax in my purse, 2 felony charges. So I ended up getting a ticket for that I didn't pay. I lost my license, lost my place to live, lost all the money in my bank account, and didn't have anything. Hit rock bottom that quick, like within a month of that relapse. Didn't have anything. So when I'm staying with this guy Jerry, I'm going to court over all of this stuff. I had bonded myself out of jail because I had my little bit of money from my clean time saved up. And it was going back and forth. And they ended up giving me, community control, which I violated right away. And when they offered to reinstate me, I asked for treatment. Oh yeah. They sent me to City Rescue Mission, a Crossroads program downtown here, which was a court-ordered program where nobody wanted to be, and they wanted $900 for me to complete the program. So I left. I left there after 5.5 months of a 6-month program. Got out there. I said, I can't do this again. I cannot do this again. I called a friend of mine from Palatka who I knew was in recovery, and she told me about Gateway. So I got into Gateway, and that place changed my life. I've been there for almost a year now. I haven't been in any contact with my daughter, and for the past couple months, I'm seeing her every 2 weeks now. I'm supervised visitation per court order, so I'm rebuilding my relationship with my daughter. I lost my dad, unfortunately, in February. But the good thing is the last thing that I told him was that I have Jesus in my life now, and that I think it's going to be different this time. And I hope he believed it, and I hope he can see it now. And I hope he knows that it's given me strength to know I can get through something like that. I also lost my leg since I've been at Gateway. I have a prosthetic leg. All those issues and not going to the doctor and running hard, I ended up developing a wound on my foot that wouldn't heal, kind of like diabetics get, neuropathic ulcer. And I got 4 surgeries until I threw in the towel and made the decision to amputate. It's the best decision I ever made because I walk better than I've walked in 10 years now. So today I'm surrounding myself with like-minded people. I'm staying right in the middle of this recovery thing, right in the middle of the recovery community here in Jacksonville is amazing. I feel like I've found my tribe. I take life one day at a time. I know that I wake up every morning with untreated alcoholism and addiction. And the way that I ran and the quick decisions, impulsive decisions that I made, I know that I have to chase this recovery just like I chase that dope man every single day. I have people that I really care about. Me and my best friend just got matching tattoos. It's the international symbol of gratitude because we're grateful to God, we're grateful for each other, and we are grateful for our sobriety. And I couldn't be happier today because I can see a future. I have hope. I never had hope before. I couldn't see where I'd be in 5 years. I couldn't see anything big happening in my life. And today I can. I have plans for the future. Between Gateway, Operation New Hope, and the Well Church, those 3 places have changed my life. I have a great relationship with my higher power that I call Jesus Christ today. I have a great sponsor. I have an amazing home group. And I guess that's all I got. Thank you for letting me share.